Hello, my dear friends. Welcome, everyone, to another wonderful weekend wisdom session. So, yesterday we had Mr. Suresh with us, who spoke regarding the self healing of the body, mind, and soul. He also gave us a brief note on chakras. So, what are the 7 chakras and how we can energy centralize on that particular chakra through our intent, through our thought, how the mindfulness on that particular chakra will help us go with that. So we have him again here today to continue the session. As he informed, he is now going to speak us on Panchakoshas. So it is a very, very important subject in the spiritual science. So we are very eager to hear you, sir. Welcome, sir, for the today's session.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Good morning and happy morning, masters. Thank you again for joining in. Right. So yesterday it was a good interactive session, and thanks for all your participation and your support on this. So what we do is today we are going to get into the second part of the session. Right. We had some key takeaways in the last session. Right. What we did is we realized we got to know how to meditate, right? And then we understood what is stress all about, and then what is the root cause of all the stress, right? So we realized that we are the root cause of all the stress, and we have to understand ourselves properly, and that's the way to living a stress-free life, right? And also we understood quite a lot about the benefits of meditation, and also are we really creators, are we really creating our own life, and some of the discussions that we had, right? And today what we'll do is we'll proceed further on some of the subtle topics of spiritual science, right? Which we'll talk about, the 5 body system that is called Panchakoshas. We'll discuss a bit about this, and then we will talk about the power of thoughts, and how are we conscious, how can we become conscious creators, right? That's how we'll understand, and understand all about the the food chain, the food system, and how is that we can go hybrid this. I was talking about fasting a bit, so we'll talk a bit about the food system also, because today it's important to understand this, right? And also what is the placebo effect, and then we'll talk about how to heal ourselves, using this method, and we'll talk a bit about it, right? And any questions you have or doubts you have, you can actually leave it in the chat box, so I can try to embed it in my discussions as well, right? Can you all see my screen? Sharon, you can see the screen, right?
Yes, sir, we can see this.
Okay, so friends, this slide, what you see here, this slide actually talks about evolution of consciousness, right? Evolution of consciousness means we will talk about the 5 body system, plus also the various kingdoms or the various living beings that we can talk about, right? Here, I would like to start with the note that the humans, we usually have a perception that the physical body is the only reality, but that is not so, right? So physical body is not the only reality. We have a 5 body system, right? Physical body is at the lowest frequency level, and that's the grossest part of our body systems. So we have a 5 body system. You can see in the screen. We call it as a physical layer, is the layer which we are normally much aware of. 99.9% the awareness is more on the physical layer of the physical body, right? That is called Annamaya Kosha. And then there is a Pranamaya Kosha, that is called as a emotional body. And there is a mental layer that is called Manomaya Kosha. And there is a intuitional body that is called Vijnanamaya Kosha. And there's a universal body that is Anandamaya Kosha. Right, we'll talk a bit about it. So I have made more like a two-dimensional view to this, right? Two-dimensional view is like a basis of various kingdoms that we see, or the various living beings. Uh, these koshas vary a bit for how to use it or how they constitute it, what are the ingredients of each of these living beings, right? If you talk about the kingdoms, we divide it in broadly five kingdoms, right? One is called as a mineral kingdom. Mineral kingdom is the one which is like water, air, the sand, stones, rocks, anything that you talk about it, they are all forming the mineral kingdom. And in mineral kingdom, we have the Annamaya Kosha, that is a physical layer, and also there is a Pranamaya Kosha. You can see this in a blue triangle there on top of it, right? So there is, you can see these bars here. The bars represents where is it penetrating into, right? If you see the mineral kingdom, it has the gross physical layer, that is Annamaya Kosha, and then also there is a emotional body that is called the Pranamaya Kosha, where the life force is circulating. There is a life force into this. So even the water, the air, and the stones, or all the pebbles, everything, whatever we see, it all has a gross, physical layer, that is Stula Sharira, and also there is a Pranamaya Kosha, right? And if you come to the plant kingdom, you can see there is a physical layer, but also there is a improved and increased pranamaya kosha. There is a life force is much higher there, and this is all about the plants and herbs and shrubs and trees and everything. This is called plant kingdom. And we have an animal kingdom here, right? In the animal kingdom, we have all the birds, the animals, fishes, the insects, and everything that is all of the animal kingdom, right? So if you see here, there is one change that happens in the animal kingdom. One, there is a Annamaya Kosha, that is a physical body. There is a emotional body, that is the Pranamaya Kosha, and there is something else that happens here in this animal kingdom onwards, beyond the plant kingdom, is the Manomaya Kosha starts becoming activated. That is called the mental layer. So if you see it in the slide here, I'm pointing the cursor. So you can see the yellow triangle there, right? So there is a limited mental body that is activated here. But when you come to a human kingdom, there is a tremendous change that happens here. So, of course, you have all the lower three bodies, that is the Pranamaya Kosha, the Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, and the Manomaya Kosha. So, Manomaya Kosha, if you see, there is a improved mental layer. There's a much evolved mental consciousness or mental, powers, and that is called the scientific power. Like we have a innovation, invention, all the discovering, and all these sort of things are there. So that's why humans are the most intelligent beings, I would say, or we generally talk about, right? So there's a much evolved and grown manomaya kosha, that is mental layer, and there is something else that comes up is on a intuitional layer, that is called as a vijnanamaya kosha, right? That is called as a gnana, your third eye and the intuitions, the knowledge of what is right, what is wrong, what to do, what not to do, all these things, right? And there is another final layer called as a spiritual kingdom, where any person who is involved in spiritual exploration, right? Any person who is involved in spiritual exploration, which is awareness, self-awareness, consciousness, enlightenment. If you see, they are living in literally in all the awareness of all the five bodies, right? So usually we are not aware of these bodies, right? Usually we are on awareness of only the physical layer, but we don't know where there is a mind and where there is a prana shakti, where there is a knowledge center, and what is all about this Anandamaya Kosha or universal Kosha. We don't know at all here, right? So as we progress in our spiritual practices, we will be aware of all the five layers, and we can indulge in the lowest of the bodies, that is in the physical layer, and indulge in all the worldly matters, but also live it on the highest level, that is called as a universal consciousness, that is Anandamaya Kosha, where we have an experientially, we know that everything is one, every being is one, everything is a god, everything is a supreme force. It's just a replica of each other. It's an hologram of the whole cosmos, right? That's the reality that we come to know as we progress through our evolution of consciousness. So this is how usually we call the mineral and plant kingdoms are all usually the group souls, right? They have their basic instincts. They'll have the physical layer, and then there is a pranamaya kosha. But when it comes to the animal kingdom, there is a reasoning, there is a mind layer that comes in, right? And uh, to how do I link this, right? At the start of the meditation, the beauty thing of meditation is till the time you come into meditation or you get into some sort of a spiritual practices, as I mentioned, we'll be always in the physical body or physical layer. But if you realize in the first instance of meditation, immediately what experiences you get is that you immediately upgrade yourself to the fourth layer, that is the intuitional layer or the Vijnanamaya Kosha. How is because when we sit for meditation, then we realize that there are so many thoughts coming in front of me, in front of my mental eye, and also there is a energy that flows, and you feel the energies in your body. Like it can be your spinal cord, it can be your left body, right body, or some tingling sensation in your nadis or some pains. All these are the energies that flows in your body, and then you realize that yes, there is a prana also, pranamaya kosha, also there is a something happening there, right? So this is very very important that within one session of meditation, yes, there is something called as mind, there is something called as thoughts, right? Otherwise I was only involved in the physical layer. Where is the mind, where is the thought coming from, what are these thoughts? We are not aware at all. So just in one session of meditation, you will already upgrade yourself to the third body, that is a mental layer, and also go beyond. Like you also start getting some sensation here in the third eye, center of our eye, there is a pineal gland. Then you start activating your intuitional layer, that is called the third eye or the spinal gland point, right? So meditation gives you a move up from your only three layer body to the four and fifth layer body. You get complete awareness, right? So usually a person living here on a physical layer, he will be more like physically active, maybe serving army or doing some construction work or anything to do with the physical layer. So they'll be more interested in those activities, the physical feats that they want to perform. And a person who has evolved to a pranamaya kosha and manomaya kosha, right? So they will have a different approach altogether. They'll be more aware about what they're speaking, how they're speaking. Also they talk about the intellectual skills, and these are the type of skill sets that they have to develop. So they will not be any more focused on the physical jobs alone, right? Most of the people live in these two layers, the prana and the manomaya koshas, and that is called as the evolution of the souls. We all are born in all our past lives like a plant or an animal, and the nearest animal to human kingdom is the last life, that is a domesticatable animals, like a dog or a cat, or anything like a horse, or any animals which are domesticated, right? Like that can be a cow. So they are the nearest souls that are coming to the humans, and they come into the human consciousness in the future lives, right? So we would have passed through all of these life systems, and as we progress, then we would have realized all of this evolution of consciousness. And meditation gives you a complete freedom, like you see in this spiritual kingdom. The master here is aware of even the universal consciousness that aham brahmasmi and everyone is one. And then he can also involve and live like a lotus in the pond, like he can be in the worldly matter but also being detached. Indulgence with detachment is what we all learn by practice of meditation on a regular basis, right? And what happens here is, it is usually, I will call it, usually I'll compare it with a river flow method, right? If I talk about our consciousness, initially when we come to meditation, or prior to we coming into the spiritual exploration path, we are more indulged in the physical layer. That is something like there is a lake. If suppose you consider the consciousness as a lake, the consciousness is only up to the level of a lake, which is a small water body, right? we call it as a 3 feet swimming in the physical layer, that our subconscious is very dormant, and that the over consciousness is very high, right? As we meditate more, what happens is we jump from a 3-layer pool to a 30 feet and a 300 feet pool. That means when the lake overflows, like we were talking about chakras healing right yesterday. So the physical layer is usually the Muladhara chakra, and the emotional and the mental layer is all the Swadhisthana and Manipuraka chakra, right? Any person who is living in physical layer is nothing but in Muladhara chakra. So what happens is when we meditate more, from a lake body of consciousness, you will move, overflow, and become a, from a pond you will move to a lake, and lake you move on to a river, right? By the time you come here, realizing the mental layer, you will already be a river body. River means there's a lot of water, right, in the river. So there is abundance of water in a river body. And what happens is as we meditate more, our consciousness expands and our energy levels also expand. And then we move to an intuitional layer, which we call it as a sea. All the rivers join up to become a sea, right? So sea has a much abundance water. It's like swimming in a 3,000 feet water levels at the intuition layer. And when we meditate more and more and do sadhanas, right, then we enter up into something called sagara, that is the ocean. Ocean is the ultimate body of water, right, in the earth plane, right? So that is, there's no other bigger water body than an ocean, because an ocean is nothing but a combination of all the seas together. Similarly, when we attain the universal consciousness, that means we have joined to the level of Paramatma, or our ego as an Atma or an individual is dissolved already, right? So this is how we evolve through spiritual practices, from physical layer up to the universal layer. It automatically happens, and this is nothing but a path of the Kundalini Jagrana or Kundalini awakening. Is also can be seen here, starting from physical layer, that is Muladhara, to Sahasrara. By the time we reach the universal consciousness, it is nothing but we are already at the Sahasrara state or enlightenment state, right? Where we naturally get the instincts like that, I am one and everyone is one, and we get a respect without any efforts for every being on earth. Every being is a light being, and every being is a godly force and a replica of the godly force. So we get that instincts and we get those knowledge by default as an effortless mode, right? And one important point I want to mention here, right, about vegetarianism related to this topic, because when you look at the mineral kingdom and plant kingdom, right, they also have life force, they are also living beings, right? But when you eat them, they don't have something called as a pain, or they don't have something called as their own anxiety or fear or anything like that, because they don't have anything like a mental evolved mental body, right? And like say, if you take a bottle of water and pour it in a tumbler, it'll like a glass, right, it take the shape of the glass. And if you have a stream of water flowing, you can block the stream and divert it somewhere else. It will flow as the way it is required, right? If you take a plant and tie a thread to this to the left direction, then the plant will grow to the left, right? If you tie it to the right, it will go to the right, right? And it doesn't have a judgment that I'll give the shelter to the saint, I will not give shelter to a criminal, or I will give water to a saint, or I'll give a water to the criminal. It also has its consciousness, but it is non-judgmental because it doesn't have a mind. It is a dissolved being, right? But the problem is, when the moment you come to an animal kingdom, there will be a mental layer that develops. And suppose you have a dog, you have tamed a dog, right? The moment you enter your home, it comes pounding on you, it will love you, lick you, and it becomes so happy, isn't it? But if someone else comes, then it starts barking, or it can even go and bite, right, them. And why that happens is because it has its own mind, it has its own intellectual capability. And if it doesn't like, then it will not come to you, or it will, like if you take the dog for walking, that dog will have its own directions to go. Even if you want to pull it in one direction, sometimes it can even pull you in the direction that it wants, right? So it has its own mind, and it says, I can do what I want. And similarly, when it will have its own, a community, like my father, my mother, my brother, my sister, my husband, my wife. And if you cut and kill these animals, right, it will generate the anxiety and fear, and it will have also that deep pain, right, when some member of their family is cut or eaten, right, they will have the bondage there. There's the emotional bonding and the mental bonding there, and that starts creating the karmic layers. So and then the term will be called as a violence for the animals. But whereas when we eat and drink the plant kingdom and the mineral kingdom, there will be no such a karmic accounts that we build, because they don't undergo as a pain or anxiety or distress. It will only take the emotion that you feed it. I'll talk about the water and mineral kingdom in a while, how actually it is so wonderful that it actually resonates or reciprocates as what you want it to do. Like if you hug a tree and say I love you, so your love feeling is impregnated into the tree. And if you say, if you would have heard that, in one of the countries, like maybe in Africa, when they want to cut a tree, they will not cut it. They'll go every day to curse the tree that, you should die, you should die, I don't like you, I hate you. So that hatred feeling is impregnated into the tree, and then automatically it will die. Then they go and cut the tree, right? So trees also, and as well as the mineral kingdom, they take the emotions that we feed them, and they're 100% receptive of whatever we give them. Love, you give love, it takes love. You give hatred, it impregnates hatred. And if you impregnate anxiety, it will take anxiety, right? So that's how it is there with these two kingdoms. So it is very, very important to understand this spiritual concept, and that is one of the main reasons that vegetarian diet is allowed as a sattvic ahar, and then a non-vegetarian food is to be avoided, or you should all become a vegetarian. Because I was a vegetarian, non-vegetarian eater, but I became a vegetarian almost like 25 years before. Now I am a complete vegetarian and supporting vegetarian movements in India, right? So I request all the masters, think about it, be a vegetarian, and definitely there will be a lot of changes that you can see in your life for sure, right? Okay. So one more point I wanted to mention here is, as we evolve our consciousness, right? So when the moment we reach the intuitional layer, that is called as the third eye, that or we call as a Gnana Chaksha. We talked about the Agna Chakra, right? Yesterday we talked about Agna Chakra. So in Agna Chakra, what happens is our third eye activates. That is more like a GPS, like who am I and what am I here? What is the purpose of my life? So all this realization starts happening through the intuitional layer. So this is a very important concept for us to realize, right? You are seeing this picture. There is a scientist called Masaru Emoto, who is a Japanese scientist who experiments much on the spiritual science concepts and the emotions and the effect of emotions, the love and hatred and all this effect of these on our internal environment as well as the external environment, right? And what he did is, one of his famous experiment is, he took 5 bottles of water like this, and each bottle of water he gave one emotion. Then one bottle he just took it like this and just kept it aside, and one bottle he took it and he offered some prayers or whatever spiritual or religious prayers that they offer. They prayed holding the bottle and then kept it aside. And one bottle he took it out and said, thank you very much, you are so important in my life. And then he gave a gratitude. And then one bottle he took it up and say, I will kill you, you make me sick. And then he gave that emotion, and then by heart, and then kept it aside. And then one more bottle of water he took it and say, I love you so much, I really like you so much, and he appreciated, and then kept the bottle aside. So, and they froze all the 5 bottles of water in a refrigerator, in a freezer, and after it became ice crystals, right? They observed the molecules of the ice crystals and saw in an electron microscope, and this is the pattern that they saw, right? So if you see, just by giving one emotions to the bottle of water, the pattern of the particles, the way it is arranged has changed completely just because of a single emotion that we fed onto these water particles, right? If you see thank you, then you can see a beautiful pattern. If you say you make me sick and I'll kill you, it makes a different pattern altogether. And if you say I love and I love you and appreciation is given to the water, then you can see it's like a jewelry, right? And if you say there's offering a prayer, that actually sends a very different message and it becomes different, right? So every single emotion is impacting the water molecules here, right? And yesterday we were talking about it, right? The earth has 75 to 78% of water, and same as in our body, which has 75 to 78% of water, right? So what is happening here is every emotion that we get in a day, right, it is directly impacting the water molecules in our body. And because our 75% of the body is made of water, you can imagine how what is the impact on our health, mental health and physical health. What will be the impact because of our thoughts and emotions that we carry, right? And usually how many thoughts we get about 50 to 70,000 thoughts which are completely unwanted, which are most of the things are mostly we in human terms we call as negative emotions, or which we don't want that to happen in our life. These are the emotions and the thoughts that we carry, right? This is scientifically also studied that we typical human being which is untamed or uncontrolled gets about 50 to 70,000 thoughts. And you can imagine what these thoughts about is all about past which has not happened, all about the future anxiety which is not required for you to happen. And then it is all about developing that anxiety levels, the depressions, the fear, the anger, the frustration, the hatred, all about the health issues that we are not supposed to get it, right? We will be only occupied with those thoughts in the mind a complete day. That is called, like, say, what happens is, like, say you are driving a car from your home to the office, right? When you start from the home, right, you will know, yes, you are going to go to your office. That is the first thought. But between your home till the office, you will not be knowing where your mind is. And by the time you arrive to your office, then you realize that, oh yes, I reached my office, right? In between that portion, where is your mind being? What has been it there? And then you will not be even wondering or looking at where, in which route I came or what happened and everything. It's all a completely unconscious state of mind. But all of this unconscious state of mind is creating a lot of problem in our life, and that is the root cause of all the problems that we get in our life, right? So if we are not aware of what we are thinking, if we are not aware of what emotions we are carrying, then we will not even have a control of what we are getting as a results in our life. It is physical result as well as our social or emotional results that we get as part of this the process, right? I, do you get this point, right? So it's very, very important that meditation gives you a thought-free mind, or a mind with very less thoughts and a reduced number of thoughts, and only those thoughts which you want to create a reality consciously, right? So meditation reduces all of these emotional disorders and physical disorders that you will tend to develop because of unconscious thought process, right? So next, we'll talk more about the thoughts, because it is very, very important for us to understand. So usually we are like this human being you can see here in this picture, burdened with the thoughts. So typically, we go to the office and come back to home in the evening, and most of us will feel so stuffed up or so exhausted and so stressed. And then the moment you come to your home, say, let me sit on a sofa, and then you want to have some hot coffee or tea, or just want to sit there. You get so exhausted. Why? Because you would have worked for the whole day, but where is the energy going? It's because you are carrying a big invisible burden on your back. And if you see the back here and there, you don't see, nothing is there. What is the weight I'm carrying? But why am I so burdened? Why am I losing my energies? It is because we are carrying a loads of thoughts in our mind, which is all unwanted clutter or garbage that we carry, and that garbage is becoming heavier than your main course of action that we are supposed to take. Right? It is very, very important to understand this process. And all it's like, if you go to a farmer and ask them, how do you grow a mango tree efficiently? That means he says, okay, you plant sow a seed, and then it will become a sapling of mango, then you transplant it, and then you can grow it into a mango tree. And whatever you give water to it, and make sure that you don't have much weeds around it, because whatever fertilizers and manure or water that you give, if you want to get a good tree, then you should not have weeds around it. But the problem is, our mind is also is like a farmland, where it is completely having a lot of weeds which is not required, and we don't even know where my plant is, and it is all lost like this in this picture. You don't know which tree have I planted or what is it. So because the weeds have grown so big, it has become bigger than your main purpose of the life. It has become bigger than the main job that you are supposed to do, because all the energies are drained by these unwanted thoughts. All the energies are drawn by these unwanted thoughts. So whatever I am eating, whatever energies I am getting, where is it getting exhausted? Where is it getting all evaporated? It is all because we carry so many thoughts in the mind, and that is pulling and dragging and depleting our energy levels continuously. Non-stop nonsense is going on in the mind. So it is very, very important for us to understand this philosophy, right? And what happens here is, whether we want health, whether we want education, whether we want love or fortune, right? Everything is perfectly designed in the universe, matching to your thought process, matching to your emotions that you have. Like say, if you talk about, you know, if you want to find people who are eating food, right? Where will you find them? If you want to find people who are eating food, where will you find them? We all find them in their dining halls, right? Dining tables or dining halls. Or if you want to find people who has diseases, right? Then you go to a hospital, you'll find all the people who have flocked there because of disease. If you want to find people who are studying or reading or educating themselves, so you go to a college or a school, you'll find all the people come there only to study something in their life, right? And this actually shows that whatever you are thinking, you are going and ending up there. Like if you talk about diseases and always have the brain filled with the disease, you will end up one day in a hospital and then being treated by doctors, right? Either the doctors are there or the patients are there in the hospital. So, and when you want to find people who are having food, you can go to a restaurant and then you can find people who are having food, or maybe a dining hall in your home. They'll find people having food there. So anyone who is having an inclination of certain things, they will end up into a particular situation. This is a perfect law of attraction, right? And every thought matters, every thought materializes, right? It is a perfect balance of the thought process that we have in our mind there, right? So further going on to explaining about the thoughts and what happens to the thoughts, right? Is that every thought materializes and gives you results. That's what I can say. Like if you see this tree, you can see it is a mango tree. Can anyone say, this is a mango tree with so many fruits on this? Can anyone say, if I have to get this big tree, how many seeds does it need to grow up a big tree like this? Yeah, so we don't sow 10 seeds to get a tree like this, right? So just because of one seed, you get a big tree which gives you so many fruits. And again, that fruits, if it drops onto the soil, again it will become another tree. Another tree, seed or a fruit falling onto the ground, it germinates, and again another tree will come up from that. So what happens here is, just because of one seed, you get so many fruits and so many results out of that one seed. Similarly, our mind also is like a ground where whatever you sow, it will give results like this in this way. But the problem is, we are not conscious about what we are sowing in this playground, what we are sowing in this field. We don't know what we are sowing at all, because every seed will give you some, like if you sow a bitter gourd seed, it will give a bitter gourd. If you sow a mango, it will give you mango. If you go grow neem tree, neem seeds, then it will give you neem seeds and neem flower, neem leaves and neem flowers, right? So whatever you sow, so you get, so you reap, is very, very natural phenomena, we all know. But if we don't know what we are sowing every minute, every second, every moment, then we become completely unaware of what results we are going to get, right? So every person who is not aware, or who is not spiritually inclined, or not aware of what he or she is thinking, it is like a parent, asking how many kids you have, and the parent says, Hare, I don't know, Baba, I don't know how many kids I have, where they are, what they are, I don't know at all. So what do you call this type of parents, right? So they don't know how many kids they have. And it's like, you would have heard about in a famous story in Hindu mythology, right? It's called as the Rakta Bijasuras. What happened is that, this was a demon or a asura, right? Where every drop of blood, or every cell of a blood that falls on the ground will become another demon like him, right? Another asura like him. That is the blessing or the powers that he had got, that every drop of blood that false, it will become another asura, right? So we are also like that, right? Where we don't know what we are thinking, and all our thoughts are like the Bhakta Bijasuras. We're creating whatever we don't know, unconsciously creating the world that we are seeing today. Why there are so many hospitals, why there is a lot of insurance companies, why there is a lot of anxiety, why there is a stress, why there is a lot of psychiatrists coming up, why there is a lot of antidepressants required, why the medicine consumption is going up. It is all because the 7 billion population on earth into 70,000 thoughts. You can imagine how many seeds we are sowing, and out of that, each seed, it is having a compounding effect. Like you saw, one seed has given you so many fruits. Similarly, one thought will give so many results in our everyday life, right? And every time we think and act and speak something, it actually generates a karmic account, and it actually will have an effect also. There's a root and a fruit, or a cause and effect theory works here also, where every thought, like we are creating, just like Rakta Bijasuras, every moment, every single second, we are thinking and we are sowing those emotions and the thoughts, and the results are coming up, right? I'll give you one small example, right? So what happens here is something like a tree, right? Usually a human mind will have a thought. The moment you have a thought, right, it will have two signals that it generates. One signal is called as a wired signal, that will flow the moment you generate a thought in your brain and mind. It will radiate signals. One signal is called electrical signal flowing in your body, in your nadis, like you have the nerves, right, in your body. So all the neurons and nerves will get that signal, and then one wireless signal is sent to the universe to give the results of what you have thought, right? So I'll give you a small example here, that two brothers who had a mother of, like, say, 65 years, and they have the sons were 35 years and 45 years, right? And they were taking their mother to their for checkup from the hospital or doctor, and then the mother had three friends, like the diabetes and the BP and arthritis, right? And he was 35 and 45, and then the doctor said, your mother has all these three friends, and then your father had four friends along with these three, also had the heart disease, so you better be careful, right? You also may catch up one of these friends, you better be careful. Usually hota hai na, this is what happens in a doctor and a hospital conversation, right? So what happens is, this person who is a 35-year-old will think, I will not have all of these problems, I'll make sure that I'll be all right. And the 45-year-old, he thinks that, yes, I should be careful, I may get diabetes, or maybe this BP things. So let me face it, whatever I may get it, but let's see what happens. And what happens is, the moment he thinks that is I may get diabetes in the future, then what happens is the wired signal will flow in the body, and the body is actually called as a slave of a mind. Like say, if I want to lift my hand, my brain tells my hand and the motor neurons, motor nerves that that yes, my hand has to go up. So then the body listens to whatever the mind says. It's as simple as that. So the moment this person decides that yes, I may get this diabetes, so the body says, okay, Baba, I will develop myself into a diabetic body, right? It's like planting a coconut tree. After 6 years, it will give you fruits, or 7 years, it will give you very good coconuts. Same way, the body also will start developing a diabetic body, and every cell and every tissue in the body will start working as per the DNA coding that is done in the cell now. The mind, the subconscious accepts it, then the DNA is coded and the whole cellular structure gets varied there. And there is a wireless signal that goes from just one single thought, and then you go and ask a doctor, why are you investing in a hospital, or a investor, why are you investing in a hospital? Then they say some diseased person will come, some patient will come, and then because of the hospital being constructed, then there are hundreds of people who will get work for constructing the hospital, and there are hundreds of business units that will be getting business for manufacturing beds and cots and furnitures, and even pharmacy industry will get one syringe extra, one diabetic testing machine extra, there's a tablet manufactured. So just imagine one single thought, how much it is having a compounding relationship on the universe, because the universe is always unconditional. It is called unbiased, unconditional, non-judgmental. If you desire to become diabetic, it will say, okay, tatastu, you take it, so be it. Every minute, every moment, whatever we are thinking, so be it. You are blessed to be the way you want. It's called yad bhavam tad bhavati. Okay, that the thought process is whatever we are thinking, unconsciously or consciously, this bhavana that we generate, right, that will radiate into the universe, and universe will prepare to serve you to that. So even if I decide that yes, I will not be becoming a diseased person, or like say for an example, you're buying 10 bananas from a shop every day, and then you suddenly stop buying 10 bananas, then the 10 banana order will be cancelled to the forward booking agent from the shop every day, and the forward booking agent will again stop the buying from the farmers, and the farmers will have 10 bananas less. And similarly, if everyone decides not to buy bananas at all, then the growing of banana will stop by the farmer completely, right? It is a perfect demand and supply concept that works in universe here. So thoughts are so important, and thoughts are very, very critical, that every single thoughts accountability has accountability. It's like you put 1 rupee in a bank, and the bank will not say, "Arey sir, 1 rupee hai na, chhod do." So it will not tell like that. Even if it is 1 rupee also, it has an accountability, right? Same way, it is very, very important for us to understand this concept that be aware of your thoughts and create a conscious world that you want. And meditation is a way where you reduce your thoughts, come out of all those 50,000, 70,000 thoughts, and know every single thought that you get in a day, right? And today, what is our way? We don't know what seed we are sowing. What is this tree? The name of this tree? There's no name, right? So this is what is the state of our affair when we don't get into meditation, or when we are not aware of what is happening in our subconscious and what is happening in our brain and what thoughts are going on in our brain, right? So we have to realize that whatever we sow, so we reap, So that is very important. But the problem is we don't know what we are thinking. We don't know what seeds we are putting it on the ground. It's like a farmer, right, taking a lot of seeds which he doesn't know, and just is throwing it on the field and say, let's grow this, so then he doesn't know what is growing, right? That's what is a issue that we have. And every single thought is manifesting into some results in your life, and this is actually the cause and effect theory. Okay, so when there is a mind, right, it is usually called as a manasa vacha karmana, right? It is called trikarna kshetra. Trikarna kshetra means trikshetramaya. Trikshetramaya means the human life is all about trikshetramaya. That means there are three fields. One is the mental field, the emotional field. That is a manasa. Whatever you think, so you speak, and whatever you speak, so you act. So in meditation, what happens is, first thing is that you shut down your mental factory of manufacturing all those unwanted seeds sowing up. And the moment you become calm and mentally peaceful, then you don't speak unnecessary language, then you don't utter unnecessary words. And then the moment you purify your mind and your words, then your deeds also will be purified, right? So meditation is one way of doing a trikarna shuddhi and leading a very healthy and peaceful life. As a man think, so he becomes, right? And we have to be watchful and mindful about what we think and what emotions that we carry. And mental housekeeping is more important than physical housekeeping, right? So we take shower every day, we take wear a clean cloth, anything that is looking physical, right? We want everything clean. I want to use the cleanest clothes, I want to eat clean food, hygienic food, and the place has to be hygiene enough and everything. But what is the mental hygiene? We don't know. If you open a gutter, it's like not clean since the time of your birth is there. You're born, since then you are not opened this gutter at all. The gutter is filled of complete clutter of thoughts, right? So meditation is one way of opening that old gutter, and then the mental hygiene can be created every day. And that is the best way to come to a very good hygiene of the mind. And then sweeping of the mind, just like you sweep your floor every day, you have to sweep your mind every day by meditation, and then releasing your mind out of unwanted thoughts.
So Ms. Gayatri has posted, what if your thought is not in alignment with the divine?
Okay, so there is the divine doesn't have any thoughts. I mean, the divine, if we call as a so-called the cosmic being or the divine, so there's nothing called as a thought. Anything that we create, it is called the sankalpas or the intuitions or the intentions, is what we create, and there is nothing called as a divine intervention or divine force that actually intends to do something. Right? There's no force or no intentions on the divine side, is what I get a sense. But we can name any thought as divine or non-divine based on our perceptions, is what I can say. Or if you have any specific question which can link or help me to understand it better, it will help me. I hope that clarifies.
So we do have Shiranjani ma'am with us. Ma'am, you
Yeah.
can please on your mic.
Namaste, madam. Good to see you today.
Namaste, sir. Good to see you too. Thank you, Shalini ma'am. So yeah, I think in terms of thought, I know this is kind of in alignment with what we talked yesterday in terms of practical implementation versus effortless happening. So again, we thought that probably unless we are at the state of that one consciousness, that effortless, at least that's what I understood, that effortless happening would not happen. So
Yeah.
yes, meditative state will actually decrease the number of thoughts and increase the purity. I think that's one thing what I've so can we still consciously make decisions on our thoughts? I think you kind of covered it yesterday briefly, like how we can control and how we can shut down or allow certain thoughts in. So that is kind of a conscious decision, correct? I think we should we still do that, or like
Okay. Yeah, I'm getting what you said. It's still putting your mind or getting into a conscious decision is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Yeah, actually, see, from a higher density of thoughts and a higher level of unconscious state of mind, moving to a higher conscious state of mind, and then dissolving the mind itself is the ultimate goal, right? Then ultimately, it actually gets into that path. But to form a sentence or a word, we start from alphabet. So this way of sitting and meditating is actually a a very simple way to get into that process. And then after that, there is nothing called as sitting and meditating, right? So when the awareness and the beingness is the way of our life, I would say, that's where we all end up, and that's where we all get into. And there's nothing called as sitting and closing an eyes and meditating, because meditation is all about being awareness, being in the present tense, and being in the a complete no mind state, or just non-judgmental state, right? So like if you listen, that Jesus says, judge me not, and don't judge anyone, right? So the moment you judge, you give a polarity, you get into a dvaita sthiti, right? So we move away from like you and me, sun and moon, male and female, dark and black, and white, and things like that. So it all actually is a dvaita sthiti, right? And when we get into a path of the Anandamaya Sthiti, or the universal consciousness, that automatically you reach from a duality state when you are in a physical world to a non-dual state, right? That's ultimate realization that we all get into. And every soul is in that path. How and when they get into it is all a matter of self-choice and free will, right? And then the duality ends there, and then there's nothing called as a doing. It's only being. And that's where I hope I could connect to what you are thinking.
Yeah, I should say yes. Yeah.
Okay, sure. If anything else is there, maybe we can connect it again.
Sure,
Offline.
definitely, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, man.
I look
Nice.
forward to it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So we have Mr. Raman with us. Say it please on your mic.
Yes, sir. Namaste.
Namaste, Suresh. I've been listening to your talk from last almost 1 hour.
Yeah.
One question that has right now arise in my mind is, how can we correlate the positioning of the chakras with the koshas?
Okay.
So like
the koshas and chakras are almost like Yeah, go ahead. You have more. You can complete your question.
Yeah, means like which chakras relate to which koshas? And see, we have got totally 7 chakras and we have got 5 koshas. Means how do we actually correlate these koshas with the chakras? Because here we say this chakra is energized, just chakra lacks little energy, but this we generally don't say with the koshas.
Yeah.
But somewhere
No,
there's
yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
So definitely there's a relation between these two, but I need to really get into the core of this. Like, how do you actually correlate?
Okay, so basically, as you see, sir, on the slide I had shown, that the koshas are again actually divided into 5 koshas, right? It is actually getting from a stula sharira to a universal consciousness. This is called the path of evolution of consciousness. Okay, so the physical layer, the Annamaya kosha, is more related to the Mooladhara chakras. Okay, the emotional layer is more related to your what you call the Swadhisthana, where the emotions and the whole of the emotional body is all created. And then when the moment you arrive at this level, the conscious level expands. So you will start realizing about your emotions, your thoughts, and all this sort of all your relationship problems and everything. So that comes into this state also. So it is nothing but the chakras and this are actually syncing each other. And when you talk about the intuitional layer, it is nothing but your Agna chakra. A person who is with awareness of intuitional layer, or a Vijnanamaya kosha awareness person, is nothing but he is already having an Agna chakra active. Right? And like a universal consciousness is Sahasra, right? So Anandamaya Sthiti is nothing but your Sahasra Sthiti. Right? Everything is Sthiti. And awareness is more in terms of the Sthitis, and chakras is more related to your the physical and the emotional conjunction there. Right? So this is all about awareness. This is more to do with the spiritual context of awareness that is coming in there, but that is, you can experience it there in chakras, in the physical layer and the mental layer also there. So that's nothing but it is actually correlated. This is a state of mind, there is a state of awareness, and that is actually the physical experiencing that you go through that in the chakras. Maybe I have. This is what my intuition says.
No.
Because I am not drawing it from any scriptures or any books, but just spontaneously coming from me.
Okay. Now coming to these plants, do they have Manonmaya kosha? Plants? Actually,
the certain evolved plants, we are just getting into a animal kingdom. They are borderly. They were actually coming into the transition point, right? Those have an advanced and evolved subtle minds there. They have certain plants like that also. Yes. But more or less, the plants doesn't have their own thought process or intentions that they create.
Okay.
It just goes by the nature's flow, and it's usually called as a group souls that comes in, and it impregnates whatever thoughts and feelings that we give.
Okay.
Of course, science has a different approach to it, but this is what the spiritual science is the thing, and this is what I also strongly get a sense that this is the way it works, the nature.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, Suresh. Thanks a lot, Suresh. Thanks for the information. Anyway, you're doing well.
Thank you very much, sir. So Raghuram sir is my guru in my college. Thank you, sir, for participating, and really have my best regards and gratitude for you.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm also getting it's a very good learning experience. I'm learning a lot from you.
Thank you, sir. And so am I. I've learned a lot. I've been learning a lot from you. Thank you for your service.
Sure. Thank you, Suresh. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. It was great having you here, because the person who has taught, has been a great teacher to our master here, so he has been participating in this.
Yeah, it's a blessing for us that he's a great grace for the occasion, I would say.
Yes, sir. So, Suresh, we have another question from Mr. GVK. Can we manifest what we want and have that thought while meditating instead of going into a thoughtless state?
Yeah. So that is called as a sankalpa shaktis, so we call it sankalpas. Like if you go to a temple, right, usually you go to a temple and then sit with a blank mind, or you go to a priest and then he will ask you to take some sankalpas, or let your family be happy, let you get all the best kids and childs, and let you be Aishwaryavanta, or get a lot of prosperity and things like that. So these are sankalpas we usually take, right? So with in a temple. Similarly, even in meditative state, right? Meditative state is nothing but a very right state where you are making the mind empty, and it's like a field is very clean. And in that moment, it is called as an alpha brainwave state. Alpha brainwave state is nothing but it is the mind is vibrating at about 10 hertz, 10 hertz frequency. Right, at that point of a time, when we recall some sankalpas, or we want to put some sankalpas that I want to achieve this, definitely it is a good way of creating what we want, and then the manifestation powers are much higher than regular manifestation powers. So meditation state, definitely you can use it consciously to create sankalpas that you want. And also another way is to also realize that you already achieved that results. It's like future progression. We call it as a future progression techniques, or sankalpa shaktis with future progression techniques, where you visualize or you can imagine that the state what you wanted is already there, right? Then automatically the creation makes that happen for you. The creation makes it live and real for you through meditation strength. Hope that answers.
Thank you, sir. So there's another person, Mr. Venkateshwar Rao. He has asked, how can we activate our chakras, master? So I think you have already answered it yesterday by focusing your energy on that particular chakra while we do meditation. So dear friends, like as he informed, you can just Google and check like where are the exact placement of the chakras, so you can come to an idea. So surely you can focus your energy if you really feel like activating your particular chakra.
Okay, yeah.
So another question from Danu. From many, I am asking question to divine power, but I don't get answer. Yeah, then we are not able to understand your question. So I think if you are here available, you can please raise your hand and we will unmute you.
So she's asking that she's putting a lot of questions to the divine or the universe, and she's not getting the answer. Is what she's trying to ask.
Might be, might be.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Then
the
can you
universe.
please ask, can you just on your video? Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi.
Yes, I'm asking questions to the divine, but I don't get answers.
Okay. Okay. So
Like, but I'm
yeah.
healing. I'm healing myself. But
Okay.
whenever I ask some question, I don't get it back to me. I don't get answers.
You don't get answers. Okay. So the universe is perfectly sensitive, and then it definitely manifests or gives back whatever you want. But just that we will have to be ready or prepared in the ways it can give. Right. That's what I can say. It's not that it will never give or it will never answer. Definitely it will. Because there's nothing called as a divine source again beyond whatever we are, right? We are ourselves creating our own realities is what the final thing, right? So if I'm asking a question, then automatically the answer also should come from within. It comes
Yeah,
from
I
within.
understand that. What you are telling, I understand. Or either I should get it from something outside also. But I don't get anything like that. No information as such.
Okay, okay. So maybe it needs some more introspection.
Maybe according to you, I may need some higher frequencies.
No, actually, I won't. Yes, in a way, it's right way. Like say, if you are in a room, like you are in a room right now, right? So
Yeah.
what you can see is only the room. You are inside this room, right? And when you go and climb on top of your home, right, you can see not only your home but also you can see the surroundings. You can see that yes, there is a vehicle coming from this side. There's another vehicle coming from this side, so you can gauge and judge, yes, if this vehicle comes in the same speed and another vehicle comes in the same speed, and they can both clash together. So you get an insight that, I'm seeing a bigger and broader spectrum of my life. And when you climb up a hill, then all your other problems look so small. Then you elevate your consciousness to a higher level. And then automatically you will see, it's a much bigger meaning to this than what I was locked up when I was in a room. Right. So, as you said, yes, that is a right approach to be very straightforward. That the world we see and the messages we receive and the intuitions we get is purely based on the vibrations and the consciousness level in which we are living, and the awareness that we are living. Those awarenesses are getting opened up. Like say, you have an infrared frequency remote, right? So you are controlling the TV, but you cannot see the ray or you cannot see the wave, but it is controlling your channels, and you can increase or decrease your volumes. But because the rays are not seeing, it's not that it is not there, it's an invisible force, right?
Okay,
So there will
yeah.
be definitely you will be having it, but maybe yes, you have to tune your vibrations or tune your receptive powers to the level it is giving it back to you, I would say.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for the information.
Nice interacting with you.
Thank you, Danu. So, Suresh, we have another question here. Here in this topic on chakra activation, I have read and heard that it is risky to do it alone by online instructions. It would be great if we can do it in the presence or the guidance of an already enlightened person who himself achieved that.
Okay. So definitely, if you are doing some kriyas, particularly kriyas to activate any chakras, then definitely that can be impulsive activation. But meditative way of activating the chakra is the safest way of activation to chakra, because it doesn't happen just like that, right? The meditation flow and meditative way of activating the chakra is like a river flow. method. Only when you are having sufficient energy, like if you are initially you are like a pond, only when the pond overflows it becomes into a lake. Only when the lake overflows it gets into a river. Only the river overflows it gets into a sea mode, right? The chakra activation also is like that. You start with the Mooladhara, then it gets into Swadhisthana, then it goes to Manipuraka. It one after the other, automatically it opens up. It's like a 7-door hill, so one after the other the doors will open up by itself. So meditative way is a perfect and a very safe way of activation of chakras, and it is a byproduct or a result that you get out of regular practice of awareness and meditation. That's all I can say. So if you don't want to focus on chakras, I was just only referring to as experimenting. It's purely is individual's choice whether you want to focus and then try to sense and feel what this chakra is all about. That's an individual choice. But regular practice of meditation will automatically give you the same result as what you will get after chakra activation also. Right?
Yes, sir. So it was a good answer, sir, because I also personally feel, because what we have heard from Patriji, that if you do meditation, the energy flows to that particular concerned chakra, and whichever is required will automatically happen. So we need to focus on something which is in very much particular.
Absolutely, it's I would say a non-voluntary, involuntary movement and involuntary elevation of consciousness and activation of those awareness junctions and points. So
Yes, sir.
definitely,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yeah, sir. So why don't we hear from you? Like, when did you meet Patriji, and some incidents from your relationship with the Grandmaster Patriji?
Oh yes, thank you. Actually, see, I have always been like a spiritual seeker, and as I had just mentioned, of my information that you gave yesterday, I started my journey in '96, and then in meditation itself, I started somewhere in 2009. I went into Vipassana mode of meditation, and then 2010 somewhere I was hearing about Pyramid Valley, and then I used to go to Pyramid Valley for meditations, like every morning, every weekend, Sunday mornings I used to go there, meditate in the morning and come back. So one fine Sunday, what happened is we went with my relatives and friends, and then we heard that there is also Patriji. I'd heard about him, but I didn't know. I knew that yes, he's an enlightened soul and a great master, and teaching meditation and vegetarianism. So, and people around there told me that Patriji is there, and then you can meet him. Then when we all went there, and we met him, and he just the moment he saw us, he is a soul scanner, right? So he understands what is missing link in this person's evolution of consciousness. So what happened is he invited us to have some tea. We had finished his breakfast, so we had a tea with him. Then he said, Aja, Aja, come, let's have tea. Then after that, what happened is he suddenly started erupting on me, saying that if you are not the Buddha, don't come to me. If you are not a Gandhi, don't come to me. So he was talking very because his voice is pretty strong and evident, right? So and I was feeling a bit, I was smiling though, but yes, there is something that he's speaking, then not feeling very offended. Maybe at that point of a time, I didn't really feel the sense of ego there, but somewhere there was a questioning happening. Then again, I was just listening to him. Then again, he we came back to the pyramid, and then he said, come, let's have a photo. Then he put his hands on my shoulders, and then we all stood together. Then I asked Patriji, then Swamiji seems to be in an angry mode, right? So then the whole it's like became like a volcano. Then he said, yes, I am an angry man, don't come to me. So inko mat chodo idhar karke. So he was blasting me like an eruption of a volcano. And then I was just smiling and just listening to him, and as if some drama or some entertainment is happening. But there was the whole crowd or some of my other relatives had gathered. So you were wondering, what happened to this person? He looks like a madman. People call him as enlightened being, then he's a madman. Why is he shouting so much? Then, but for me, it was a message for me. Then perfectly all right. Then I came back and then I was contemplating and then understanding, what is he saying? Why did he comment on me like this? I have never met him. I am meeting him for the first time. What is he trying to say? And then when I introspected and contemplated on it, then I realized I got an intuitive message in meditations that for Gandhi, he means that you have to preach and talk about non-violence and vegetarianism and serve the people. You have to serve the community, you have to serve the humanity. That's the message that I got, because Gandhi was one among the people, and then he was serving the humanity. He was talking about non-violence and preaching all the truthful habits. And the second thing I got is you have to be a Buddha. That means I have to do more meditation and spread the meditation. So that's the message that I got. And then again I met him after that instance in Bangalore. I met him again in a couple of weeks in Singapore. We spent a lot of time and we had a lot of fun. And in one instance and one discussion, all my doubts on spiritual context, especially the meditation and all the spiritual science concept, all clarified, right? So usually what happens here is there's a lot of myth, though India has a very ancient tradition of dhyana, but a lot of people in this modern world also, they think that, meditation, why meditation now in this age? Okay, I'll do it when the age comes. So that means there is a lot of myth. What is dhyana is a big myth there. So the Pyramid Spiritual Societies, he has such a wonderful examples and guidelines that anyone can meditate. Everywhere you can meditate, and anyone can teach meditation. Otherwise, people talk about there has to be a guru, there has to be a diksha, you have to do the upadesha and things like that. So it's everyone. Whatever you should teach. That's the principle. That is a fundamental thumb rule that I realized. So all my barriers and blocks that I had in the mind, and a gross mind and the body, were all cleared the moment I met him for the first time in Singapore after the first instance in Bangalore. So since then, then I realized it's such a wonderful experience to meditate and also to teach. And as and when I started teaching in Singapore, right, I realized that more and more we started teaching, the more I could purify and explore myself. So in 2010 was I would say, my spiritual rebirth, or the age of enlightenment for me. That I could activate and I could sense all the chakras and all the energy upliftments, and the bliss and calmness, or the agitation mind drops itself, and then I start realizing I am the owner of whatever I'm creating. So all this realization starts happening by itself, right? So that's where I realized it's such a wonderful experience to be in a company of a master like him. And then the principle he has set. So since then, I've been attached and following, because it's an open school approach, right? In Pyramid Spiritual Societies movement, it's an open school approach that everyone is a master, everyone is a god. That's we are going to the clarified knowledge at the first step itself. It's like the PhD level approach, where it's a research subject, it is a science subject of spiritual science. So that's how my journey has been. So every time we meet him, we get some messages. He speaks the language, and there is a hidden message. There's a profound truth in these languages. So it's wonderful being with Patriji, I would say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, because a lot of people here are very much new to the sessions of Pyramid Valley or Patriji, so I think your interaction, your experience with the master can just give them some glimpse of how it would be. So, my dear friends, I welcome everyone to Pyramid Valley International. So, after this lockdown, you all can come and visit and stay and do meditation in this big, mighty pyramid, which is a center of focus for the soul of the campus.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, definitely it's a very serene place, and especially meditating in the King's Chamber, definitely it's an experience of its own. Thank you. Yeah. I think I have to just cover two more
Yes, sir,
concepts.
please. You can just go
Okay.
on to the
Still wants
presentation.
to continue, can continue there. Right. So here, usually there's a lot of myth about the food system, right? So I just wanted to demystify what is food and things like that, right? So usually we talk about food as a source of energy, right? And that's what we all talk about. And food is required for the nourishment of the body, right? That's the usual understanding that we all have. So food is a source of energy, and then it is required for nourishment of the body, the physical body, right? And also we talk about the nutrition, all the vitamins and the minerals and all the calcium and the proteins and things like that, so it gives all the necessary nutritions to the body that is required, right? So one thing more is attached to the food, right? So if it is only the energy, and the best energy or the best nutrition or the best food is all in the raw food, right? If I eat maybe some leaves from the tree, or some grass grown on the field, or you just take some nuts directly raw, or, like that, it gives the best quantity or best amount of nutrition and things like that. But we don't consume that, because food is all about human entertainment also. Food is all about emotions also, the taste buds. You get a sense of feeling, the experience, the pleasure, the indulgence. So food is all about for human nature, right? It's all about because we have so many varieties. Like if you talk of an animal, so animal has just a few flavors, or just it can just sense it, then it can start eating that raw from the nature directly. But for humans, it is all about the few thousands and thousands of dishes and varieties of recipes that we all cook, isn't it? So food is all more to do with the emotions than physical requirement alone, right? If it was only energy, then you can you can just take the energy that is required and then forget about the physical layer itself completely. Because when we meditate also, we receive energy, right? And one thing that we have to understand is that energy also is a very important concept to understand. And usually, like say, when we talk about meditation itself, right? So when we meditate, we receive a lot of cosmic energy, and that also is an energy that is a source of all the nutrition. Because see, uh, we are not necessarily required to only be in a physical plane alone, because our body has consisting of seven chakras, or the seven energy points. Like the chakras, there are seven stations there, right? And every food that we eat has a color to it. Like say, if you talk about a beetroot, the beets, right? The beetroots are all the red color is there. So it relates to which part of our chakra, right? It relates to the Muladhara chakra, right? When you talk about an orange, it is related to orange color. Anything that relates to orange color food, it is actually related to your Swadhisthana. Like if you have pineapples or jackfruits or the capsicums or yellows, and anything that is yellow is related to your Manipuraka chakras, right? So, and similarly, you have all the greens. Like if you see more trees and more greens, then you feel naturally peaceful, because it is related to your Anahata, your heart chakra. And when you eat consume a lot of green color, then automatically you will actually nourishing and feeding that chakra, right? So similarly, you have every color of food that we eat. That's why we should focus on eating a lot of colorful food, right? Not just a bland red sauce and red color and things like that. So we should always consume a lot of varieties and colors of food. And the best is to have it in the raw state, when it is actually having all the prana shakti inside it, because that will add the prana to my prana. Okay, I have a prana, limited prana in my body, and then I eat a pranic food, then it adds the prana to my body, right? But at the same time, what happens here is, when we meditate, all the chakras of my body will get activated. That means to say, it is actually giving all the seven colors. That's why it is getting activated, right? And every food that we eat will ultimately get converted into light source, that is called the if I'm eating red, it converts into red color energy, red color light, and then it nourishes and feeds and activates the root chakra, that is Muladhara chakra, right? Similarly, every food that we eat is related to a particular energy model, right? But also we have to realize that energy also is a matter, a fact which, if we tap that energy system, we don't need to necessarily depend on the physical layer. That is a thermal plant. Your stomach is like a thermal plant, right? So we always think that only the thermal plant is only reality which generates electricity. No, there is solar also, there is chemical, there is nuclear, there's so many other methods of generating the same energy that we are using every day, right? So let us understand a bit more about what this is all about, right? So when you talk about a solar system, right, the solar system means what? Like the solar system in which we live, the Earth planet is there, right? When you talk about the Earth planet, we are talking about the sun, right, which is a core, which is actually the controller or governor of the solar system. And then there are so many planets and satellites revolving around each planet also, that is actually attracted and going around this the core, that is the sun. It is under complete influence of the sun, right? And all the plants and trees and animals and every being on the earth that we are living is actually activated and dependent on the energy source, depending on the life force that we get from this sun, which is far away, and which is not connected to me physically at all. Just imagine the whole of the earth system, the plant and everything, the animals and everything are all living and activated, and they're receiving a lot of energies through the wireless technology, through the wireless energies, and we are living on it, and we don't even realize that fact, right? So if you look at that, there is a core of sun, and there is a lot of planets and then satellites. Similarly, if I look at an atom structure also, atom structure is nothing but a hologram of solar system, where the core sun is called as the nucleus of an atom, and there is protons and electrons that are revolving or rotating around the nucleus, right? So the moment the solar system sun is broken, or it expands and then exhausts all its fuel, then the solar system will collapse, right? Similarly, in an atom also, when the nucleus is broken, right, or the nucleus is torn off, then the atom itself will lose its identity, right? So it is a nothing but a replica of this solar system, right? Every atom, like the atom, if you look at a wall or any particular physical object, it has a lot of millions and trillions of atoms, and every atom is like a replica of a solar system. If you break open or you do a nuclear fission or a fusion, it becomes an atom bomb, right? It becomes a nuclear bomb. And imagine how much energy just an atom has. And we also have a similar structure, right? In the cell also, there is a nucleus to it, and the moment the nucleus is collapsed or broken up, then the whole cell is lost, right? And we also have a similar thing, just like a solar system. Every cell in our body actually is a living being in itself. It has its own consciousness, it has its own energy, it has its own outer circle and inner circle, and the core is a nucleus, right? That is also a living being, living consciousness there, right? So we have to understand that this also is receiving energy directly from the cosmos, right? It can receive energy from the solar, it can receive energy from my own being as an Atma. Atma itself is connected to Paramatma every time, otherwise we'll vacate the body immediately. The moment I vacate the body, then we are joining back to the universal consciousness. And when I'm splitting and coming into this physical body, I'm an Atma, I am nothing but a hologram of the universal consciousness there, right? And every cell in my body is vibrating at the cosmic level, and then it is connected to me as a universal energy. Just like you enter into a car and switch on the car and turn on the car and then you drive it, the moment you enter into the car, every single part, directly or indirectly in the car, listens to what you want it to do, right? Same way, the cell also in our body actually listens to what I want to do and what we pursue to do. And I am a source of the same replica of the universal consciousness, and I have all the energy that is required. Just like I told you, every food is broken into 7 colors, and I already have the 7 colors in my body. I already have the 7 chakras in myself. And I, as a soul, I'm actually a universal soul, like a white light or a golden light, and that white consists of all the 7 colors. Because when you combine all the 7 colors, it forms a white color. And if I'm a white light and I'm a source of all the energies, then I can perfectly give all the nutrition that is required to all the 7 chakras in my body, right? And there are so many masters, who are actually living, people called as breatharians, right? So breatharians means those people who are not eating food at all. They know prana and the life giving birth. Actually, the life saving energy or the life energy is nourishing the body with the prana. And we as a soul, we as a cosmic replica, right? We have all the necessary required energy levels that is required to perfectly feed the body, right? And there are so many yogis and monks and masters, you would have heard, they have not eaten food for years and ages, right? And for decades they wouldn't have eaten food. And I have personally also met, a lady called Jasmohin, who is actually, from Australia, right? So you can see this screen. They are called Akahi and Camilla. They are the Breatharian couples. They hardly eat food, or they don't eat food at all, and they live on prana. And then they teach people how to turn from eating to non-eating habits. And this lady called Camilla, she has only eaten 2 meals in the entire pregnancy period, and she has the highest level of hemoglobin. And the child which is born again is a Breatharian child, and then they switch from eating to non-eating effortlessly there. And this person, Hiraratan Manek, he teaches something called sun gazing, right? And the moment he started exploring the ancient technique of sun gazing, he was on fasting for 200 odd days. And the next time when he was on a fasting, he was 400 odd days. He didn't eat food. And now he teaches sun gazing across the globe. And he is the gentleman from Trivandrum. And then he goes all around the world. And NASA has studied his body. He has given himself to experimenting also to scientists, and then they are sensing and studying how can a man survive without food for so many days just by sun gazing. And they're trying to train the astronauts when they have a psychological issues. When they eat food also, they have a problem because it doesn't digest so well. So he's been seeing that a lot of followers of his can realize absolute health, 100% balanced health, mental and physical health, just by solar gazing. Every day you have to gaze the sun, and we have abundance of sun everywhere. So this person, they do kriyas, and they start with a vegetarian raw food diet, and then enter up into a no food eating methods. And Jasmohin also, she does something like a cosmic breakfast or a cosmic lunch and dinner, that just by doing meditation and talking to every cell of our body, that you are the souls, you are the supreme beings, and activating every single cell in our body. And she doesn't eat food since 1993. I have met her a couple of times in Pyramid Valley when she comes in, right? So these are the people that we look at it. So the main purpose of this, this session is, balance between the food and the energy needs. So we are the source of all energies, and it is better that and food is also, whatever physical food that we are eating is also source of a lot of disease, because today we don't get a chemical free food. A lot of this so-called the cancer and unknown diseases that we get is all coming because of the the food we eat, right? So my suggestion, and I have always been into this now since 10 years, I'm practicing more like a 1 meal a day, or a maximum not more than 2 meal a day. And I used to be almost a few years, 8 years, I used to be 1 meal a day. For 1 year I used to be like 2 meal in a week, right? So we can always explore, just that we should know, yes, we are the source of these things. And you can skip a meal very easily without any issues, as long as you meditate and you are aware of this consciousness. As long as you don't be desperate to eat food and trying to think that you are starving to death, that's a different thing, because it's your desire that is making you to do that. But otherwise, just for the sake of energies, we don't necessarily need to eat the level of foods that we are eating. And this will actually balance ourselves physically, mentally also. And the less you eat, also increases the vibrations of your body, right? When you do fasting, your awareness levels gets much higher, right? So anyone who has done some fasting here, like 1 day, 2 day, 3 days, 5 days, anyone wants to share how it's been like in fasting time and things, you can open up for discussions here. So what I'm suggesting here is, while I'm talking, anyone wants to talk, you can open up, we can talk. Otherwise, what I was suggesting is, for me, it's been like effortless. I can skip my meal anytime I want. I can just eat whenever I want because it's always empty, right? So it's become easy like that way. And even by taking a plate of meal in my plate, and I can skip it without any effort, because when you want to eat, the mind tells the body that I'm eating now, and the stomach listens to your instruction and generates the acids that's required to disintegrate the food. And the moment you say I'm going to fast now, then the acids will quench by itself, and you will become like, the stomach will become like an ice cream box. It becomes cool again, because the body is such a wonderful tool that it listens to whatever the mind says, and the mind listens to what I am saying to the mind, right? The soul is a controller of the mind is a controller of the body, and that's how the top down approach it happens, right? So why my suggestion is switch to 2 meal a day, or less than, instead of 3 and 5 meals. This is what is a regular, the modern man's habits, right? Keep on munching something. Doctor ne bola, isne bola, 3 घंटे में खाओ, 2 घंटे में खाओ, 4 hours में खाओ. So nowadays you are all seeing that the more longer you keep a gap between the meal, the better you are going to be living for rest of your life, right? So, and nutrition also is a myth. Nutrition and whatever we call it as the vitamins, the proteins, and the minerals and everything is again a myth as well, because no doctor on earth can tell you what is 100% balanced nutrition or diet for you, because the very digestive system itself is psychosomatic. The food you eat today, you can digest easily if you are in a good frame of mind. The same food you eat tomorrow, it becomes a poison for your body, because your stress, your anxieties are high. It will ferment in your body, the cholesterols can develop, it can generate toxins in the body and everything, right? So even absorption of the energies are also psychosomatic. It depends purely on your mental health. If you have to enjoy the food also, if you have to take the pleasure buds and indulge into giving the feast to the pleasure buds or taste buds, you should have a right mental health also. Otherwise you cannot enjoy the food as well, right, masters? So I think I have exceeded my time, and that's what I can cover for today. I can open up for question and answers.
So yes, a lot of people have been mentioning that they were fasting for a day without water, but still it worked normally. Fasting every 10 days with grains on Ekadashi. So
Okay,
this was
okay, that's good.
this how people were informing.
So you can always explore while anyone opens up for talking. So what I want to recommend is, you can always go ponder around these members, or explore more about this sort of alternate food knowledge, and experiment on yourself. So I wouldn't really say you give up food completely and things like that. It's purely our personal choice, but you can always have a hybrid way of living, like I said yesterday, right? So you can live in a physical plane as well as a spiritual plane. Similarly, you can have a physical food as well as the cosmic food also. So you can balance between 50% this and that, right? That's what I can say. Instead of saying 3 meal a day, like I again want to repeat words that we always speak, right? 1 meal a day is a yogi, 2 meal a day is a bhogi, 3 meal a day is a rogi. So what you want to become is your choice.
Absolutely, sir. Yes. So Mr. Govind is here with us.
Yeah.
This is Ramya. I'm Shriva's wife. If you can share a guided meditation practice for half an hour, which we can play as a recording to practice on our own, that will be nice.
Yeah, sure. I think
Yes.
Shalini can share Patriji's guided meditation music and.
Yes, sir. Yes. So, madam, are you part of any Pyramid Valley's WhatsApp group?
No.
So I will post the link now. You can just join us in the group. So we will be keep intimating about different programs and the meditation sessions which are happening. So you can also follow us on Pyramid Valley YouTube channel. So every day around 6 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. we are conducting guided meditation. So it is happening live. It is about today's, I think it is day 9, and we are going it for the 40 days. So you can still join on the YouTube every day morning 6 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. IST, Indian Standard Time.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have some people who have posted, yes, having 2 meals a day, sometimes one's feeling more energetic.
Particular number of hours or gap, eat during the day and not at night.
Yes.
So what does it mean? Like, so 2 meal a gap of any particular number of hours gap or only eat during the day and not at the night. So it can be purely your choice, but I would say the best preference for me would be to skip your dinner, right? So when you want to sleep, right, you don't need to eat food, and it will also regenerate your body cells completely, because when we eat food in the night and we sleep, we think that we are resting, maybe mentally it may be rested, but the whole body is given so much of a big task that the whole body has to work and digest and disintegrate, digest, assimilate and excrete, right, in the morning. So you're giving a huge task to the body, and the best way is to skip the dinner. That's why we call it a break the fast. So the more you give and that's the easiest way to achieve. Like, say if you have eaten the food at, like, maybe have a late breakfast and maybe a slightly later afternoon snack, or not a heavy lunch, and then skip your dinner. It's the easiest way to achieve this 2 meal a day concept, I would say. Because and another advantage it will give you is, if you skip the dinner in the night, maybe you can easily meditate 2 hours or 3 hours or 1 hour easily, right? People who are not even into meditation. So if you skip the dinner, so you can feel, yes, your energy levels are going up much faster than your regular course when you eat a meal and sit down, because the body also catches the energies and the vibrations of the food that you eat, right? So if you eat all the masalas and spices and everything, so the vibrations again vibrates based on whatever you have eaten in the physical plane. And when you remain on the fasting level, you are automatically the cells will look at alternate ways of energies, and then it can tap into the cosmic energy when you meditate. So the best way is to skip the dinner, but if it is not an option or a choice for you, but you can choose the meal you want to skip.
Yes. I also feel that that is the best way to start, by skipping dinner and help in meditation. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any further questions, masters?
Sir, I do feel that it was very much simple, and it was very much easier for people to understand.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
Because that was a continuous comment which we see in the chat box, because people kept on saying that it was very simple, it was good, and it was easy to understand. Because a lot of people do have a feeling that spirituality is something very huge and not able to
not for a common
understand.
man.
Yes.
Not for a common man, right? So.
But your words and your pictures on the presentation was really so much effective and simple enough. So thank you, sir. Thank you on behalf of Pyramid Valley. So I can say that absolutely we can understand how the food and the thoughts do matter for everyone's life. Because as we know more about the chakras or the panchakoshas, everything, the food what we take and the thoughts what we think, these are the most important things
that affects us directly.
Absolutely, sir. So I feel that this is the biggest takeaway for the whole of the session.
Yeah, I hope so. So thank you very much for everyone's participation, and any questions that we get, we can always answer offline. And any sessions, I think I got to see one query that there is some person from the US. So if there's any sessions required, we can always, if there is a group or we need to address any group sessions, we can address from here, right? So we have so many masters where we can conduct, and we also have live sessions, right? So we can always have conducted a session from Pyramid Valley or myself. We are always available wherever there is a masters available for learning to meditate, how to meditate. So we are always there to guide, right? So a lot of masters, there are millions of masters attached, only a pure meditation approach and teaching meditation. That's the purpose of so many masters in the group.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I think a lot of members have also clarified their doubts. So as Suresh sir has said, so Pyramid Valley is always here to teach and to reach out people for the spiritual cause. So the main purpose of Pyramid Valley, which has been founded by Brahmarshi Pitamaha Patriji, the only sole essence is to take meditation, spiritual science, and vegetarianism and pyramid power. So these are the main four things what we preach here at Pyramid Valley, and we are here to take this word to the whole of the humanity. So on part of it, we have been organizing a lot of weekend wisdom sessions, and this week we had Suresh sir with us, and thank you, sir. Thank you, Suresh sir. So it was
Thank you,
very
team,
much
and,
glad having you here.
thank you, madam. Thank you, everyone, masters. So please meditate and teach meditation. Be a master of meditation and be a vegetarian. That's all I can say. Thank you very much.